At least 18 million South Africans are hoping to receive their monthly social grants without any issues this month. Thousands of grant recipients didn't get their money on time last month after a system glitch. Postbank has now assured recipients that there will not be a repeat of last month's delays. Well, eNCA reporter Hloni Mtimkulu tracking that story for us. Earlier, she was up and about, visiting different SASSA pay points and Postbank points, like post offices. And you were out at Lenasia, for example, and elsewhere. So what did you see on in these different pay points today? It is day one of the October pay cycle.
That's right, Bredan. So today is the day for the old age pensions to be paid out. Tomorrow will be the disability grants, and then on the 5th will be the child grants that will be paid out, and then all the other grants will also then be paid out as October goes on. But today was that first day, and we were at the Lenasia post office. We were at the Shawela post office as well. We went to a retailer Boxer as well. We went to the town post office as well, just to see what was happening. And I think generally at the places where we went to, like Shawela and even in the CBD, there are no lines like we saw last month, and things are moving, especially at Shawela. We saw that things are moving. There are lines actually at Shawela, but the lines are moving.
Now you'd expect the queues, but they're being saved.
But they are being exactly, and you can
saved.
see, and in the times that we've been there, the line is moving, and we can see people moving, which is unlike some of what we saw last month, where the lines were just dead basically, and just kind of there. It's kind of a little bit of what we saw in Lenasia in part today, where, you know, for a while there were just lines and there were people just sitting there, and there was some frustration from some of the recipients in terms of, we don't know what's going on, are we going to be served? We've just been told that there's some or other issue with the system, and so we've been told to sit back and wait for the system. And then eventually the line started moving, you know. And just to say, it's so funny that today we saw toilets being rolled out when in the past there weren't toilets being rolled out. Once SASSA officials were in the ground at Lenasia after this morning's incident, things started working a little more efficiently. So I don't know if that's connected to that, or that will be a thing that will be carried on over the next few days and into just the whole system. But some of the lines were moving. SASSA themselves, we spoke to their spokesperson, Paseka Letsatsi, and they assure everyone that things will be working optimally as they should. There is some sort of action that is meant to be taken possibly against Postbank, given what happened last month with the delays. And actually even today there were some Bradan people who were still saying that they still feel a little bit anxious. Some of them still said that they didn't receive their money last month. So there's still quite, I think, a lot that's happening around there, and different stories depending on who you speak to. But let us hear from Paseka Letsatsi, the spokesperson of SASSA, in terms of possibly what action or what's happening around the agreement with Postbank, given what happened last month.
When anybody does not implement in terms of the service level agreement, penalty clause gets activated, and that's what we have been doing. If there are problems and people don't live according to the service level agreement, as an organization we are left with no option but to make sure that the penalty clause are implemented, and I think I'm on record on that matter. But we think that we need to make sure that the rights of the beneficiaries are protected at all costs, because at the end of the day, these are beneficiaries of the South African Social Security Agency.
Yeah, I saw those scenes earlier at Lenasia when that post office manager was really behaving in unseemingly, you know, kind of unseemingly manner. But you went to different places, and I'm sure you got different treatments in Shawela and elsewhere, unlike what we saw earlier in Lenasia. Of course, SASSA has apologized for that, but it's not for them to apologize. I mean, Postbank has to say something about that. But Postbank, what are they saying about that? I mean, this chaos that we saw last month? It's not the first time there's been some kind of an IT glitch. Middle of last year, late last year, early this year, and now again.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the, I don't know what to call it. Like, you know, I don't know what to call it. That in statements, in interviews that they do, in commentary that they give, an impression is created that everything is fine, or that everything will be fine. And when we're on the ground, that's not what we're hearing from people. And we're not the only ones that are tracking this. We've got NGOs where people go to them to say, this is happening to us. Black Sash is one of them. Amandla.mobi is another. And they were still telling us, yesterday we spoke to Amandla.mobi, and they were saying that in Pietermaritzburg, there were still grannies that they knew who didn't receive their grants, who were struggling with their grants for September. And now you have to wonder if they're struggling in September in Pietermaritzburg. Now this announcement from Postbank this morning that some post offices in KZN would not have enough cash, or they were worried that they wouldn't have enough cash. So I think there are gaps in the system still in terms of what is going on. But we just sort of meant to go with what they are saying, what officials are saying. And then you have obviously the sort of overhanded and just the extreme ways that, we were treated today. We had the camera being pulled away from us and just being grabbed the way that it was. And just the sort of not being allowed to speak. I mean, you're a public institution. Why are you hiding? Why you don't want media to come in there? All of that. So I think they are saying that things are going okay. On the ground, not so much. Some people did, and we have to say some people have received their funding for today, but it's not a blanket application for everyone, and I think that's still important.
Yeah, the whole experience is still not seamless and smooth for everybody.
And whether it's one person, whether it's 100 people, whether it's 600,000 people, the fact is if you are not getting your 2019, now it is, back home, that's something for you and that's something for your family, and it has a big impact. You have to borrow, you have to make means. There were people who came today again without having money to go back. If they don't get their money, those people, are they going to walk back home? Where are they going to get that money, So as much as they say everything is fine, there are still implications. But let us hear from Postbank themselves in terms of how they see the system playing out, Britain.
Last month, we were migrating systems, which we have done successfully, albeit we experienced a glitch that impacted a pocket of our beneficiaries. That has since been stable, and that the payments are proceeding stable throughout the country amongst all our channels is testimony that we have moved quite drastically from last month's situation. We are processing final SASSA payments normally this month. We are not envisaging there would be any incidents that were experienced in the past month. We are very confident that this payment run and the other payment runs that are coming will run smoothly, because we've gone past what was a challenge in the last round.
Thank you very much, Hloni Mtimkulu, for that update about what she saw on the ground in several of the SASSA pay points, including Postbanks, in terms of the first day of the October payment cycle of the SASSA grants. Still ahead on to